Hi everyone, welcome to the demo for Design for Testability. In this demo, we are going to look at some design choices to make our code easy to test and more maintainable. First, we look at an example of a bad design here. We have this class invoice filter that implements a method low value invoices. What it does is it fetches all the invoices from the database and it returns certain invoices whose values are less than a given threshold. If you look closely, testing the low value invoices require us to make calls to the database, which can be slow and very unreliable. Thus, a better approach here would be to separate our infrastructure and the business logic, which is being shown here. We have this invoice repository where we handle all the database related processes such as connecting and the CRUD operations and other queries. And invoice filter handles the business rules. So we can easily use a mock of the invoice repository and test the invoice filter without actually making calls to the database. So this concept leads us to hexagonal architecture where we have ports and adapters to maintain a clear separation of concerns between our infrastructure and business logic. I have an example here where we implement a shopping cart process in which we get all the cards that were being paid for today, and we have to implement this functionality where we deliver these cards to a delivery service and get the estimated date of delivery for these cards, and we persist them in the database. So let's look at the external components or the ports that we need for this. We have two external components, which is the shopping cart repository and the delivery center. So these are the ports, and we are going to see the declaration here. These are just interfaces and do not have any actual implementation in them. They act as a contract between the business logic and the external systems that we need. Um, so this is the delivery center's interface, and this is the shopping cart repository interface. We have these methods that are being used in our uh, process all function. Now that we have the ports, we can have our implementation of the business logic. Here we get all the cards that have been paid for today, and for each card, we do a delivery call to the delivery center. We get the date, the estimated date of delivery. We mark these as ready for delivery, and we purchase the cards in the database. Note that we do not use any actual implementation logic so far. Now let's look at the adapters which are implementing these interfaces. So the delivery API adapter, in real world, this could be another microservice that needs to be communicated with the REST API. So we can use this a separate class as an adapter to implement the interface. Similarly, here the shopping cart Hibernate DAO, it could have the actual connections to the database to make the queries and do the operations and process the data. Yeah, so I think we have everything ready. So now let's look at an example to write a unit test for our process all. We first mock the use the mocks for shopping cart repository and delivery center because we do not want the business infrastructure logic to be used here. This is the main test case. We have instantiated a shopping cart. We check the precondition that it is not ready to be delivered yet, and then we mock the delivery behavior and the repository behavior here. Finally, we call this process all that needs to be tested. We verify that these functions have been called, and finally we check that the cart is ready for delivery. I have already compiled the test cases, so let me run here. You can see that these test cases have passed. Uh, so the key takeaway here is that the business logic should not depend on the frameworks or the databases, so that it is easier to mock the dependencies like we have done here. Another point to notice is that this method is ready for delivery is not actually used in the process all. It was created so that we could observe the some cart or the shopping cart class. So in general, a good practice is to have observer methods so that we don't need to spy the object. This concludes the demo for design for testability. Thank you.